Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pits of Motorcast. We're live, and we got special guest Rex Stevens. How you doing, Rex?
Good. How are you doing?
It's trying to stay warm. It's like 25 degrees in Illinois today.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So first question I got for you, Rex, is how did you get involved in drag racing? When did it all begin for you?
We've had a race car in my family as long as I can remember. I still have a dragster that my dad built in 1956, and we still have it, and we do some cackle fests with it once in a while, and we ran it. When Dad and I first put it back together, we went out and smoked the tires with it. So I've been around it all my life.
So what was your first vehicle that you drag raced in?
First time I ever went down the track was in a rear-engine top-fuel dragster.
And what year was that?
It was 71, I believe, 71 or 2. Jerry Dawson built it for us, and Dad and I ran it. I got my top fuel dragster license when I was 16, and then we built our own funny car. I think 2 years later, so I got my top fuel and fuel funny car license by the time I was 18 years old. So.
Wow, you started out young.
Yes, and it wasn't, we didn't run, we certainly weren't world beaters or anything like that, but it was fun, and we did it as a family, and that was kind of good, But then I had an alcohol funny car that I ran from 81 to 83, Donovan powered car, and we qualified at some of the national events, and we could run kind of in the middle of the pack. We weren't, number one qualifier, but we were kind of in the middle of the pack. And then I crew chiefed on a nitro funny car out of Springfield, Illinois in 85, I believe it was. 84 or 85. Parts barn car. Then I did a couple of the tire smoke, and I had one of Tommy Ivo's cars, and we put together a little Speed Sport Roadster, what I thought was parts of the real car, and ended up not being, but we still ran it as the Speed Sport Roadster, and had a lot of fun with it, smoking the tires and just running them just like the 60s. And I thought I retired this past year, and I decided that I still wanted to do something, but I didn't know what exactly it was going to be. And I thought when I had the very most fun, and that's when it was when we smoked the tires. So that's what the new car is all about.
And that's the Guardian.
That is the Guardian. Yep.
Beautiful, beautiful Roadster, I must say.
Thank you. Corey Conyers built a chassis for me and did the tin work on the front, and I actually got the body from over in Ohio, and it was Norm Reese's Slickum and Stickum car from like the 63-ish area. And we picked that up and went all through it, and so it's a perfectly legal fuel dragster, but what I do is smoke the tires with it. I don't do a burnout. We roll up to the starting line just like it was 1965 or 6, right before the slipper clutch, and we smoke the tires all the way down the track. So we're gonna go to at Cordova, Illinois, on June the 2nd for the Nitro Nostalgia Nationals.
Right, that's the event Jim Young's putting on.
Right, that's going to be really cool because we're running the extreme top fuel cars are going to be there, and I think that'll be a great show because it'll kind of show the people. We'll go out and say this is how it used to be done, and then Jimmy can come up and show them how it's done today. So I think that'll be a really cool event.
You're bringing the Roadster, and you're bringing Mike Coons' Chasing My Dreams funny car, right?
No, Mike's got a top fuel car also.
Oh yeah, Dragster.
Yeah, he'll be running the smoking the tires with me with his Dragster. And then on the 22nd of June, we're going to be at WIR in Kokona, Wisconsin International Raceway for the Coors Light Nostalgia Nationals. And that I had started a little group called the Evolution of Drag Racing. And I put it together just showing how I remembered it when I was a kid. And when I remembered going, it was John Mazmanian and Stonewoods and Cook, the AA gas supercars, and then here came the altered wheelbase cars, and then the funny cars, and there were always top fuel cars that smoked the tires all the way down. So that's what we've got. We've got a great group of cars. For that one, Ted Brine is bringing the 134 Coupe over to smoke the tires with me for the fuel guys, and we've got Brian Spouts and Hal Cano for the AA gassers. Clay Kossoff with his altered wheelbase car. Mike Kurz is going to bring his funny car. We got another one to run with him. So that'll be a really cool event, I think, for people.
Now, when you say smoke the tires, you mean like a whole quarter-mile smoky burnout?
Yep. Yeah, we'll pull up. We'll not do a burnout at all because they didn't do burnouts. You know, that we'll just roll right up to the starting line, and when we drop the hammer, it'll be just exactly like it was in the 60s. We'll smoke the tires right on down the track.
So it's a match race, but you'd be smoking the tires all the way down the track.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah, that was before my time. I've never got to see that kind of racing.
Well, you know, when I had the Ivo and the Speed Sport, the guys my age and maybe a little younger thought that was just the coolest thing, and the kids would come and say, "Oh my God, I've never seen anything like that." They just didn't quite comprehend, and I said, "Well, that's how it was. That's how it used to be." So it's kind of neat, and like I said, the deal with running with Jimmy's group will be really cool because then they can kind of see, where it started and now where it's ending up. So,
yeah.
And I think the kids will get a big kick out of my car. I think the Guardian seems to be really, it seems to generate an awful lot of interest with the people, not just the kids, but the kids like it seems like. So I think it'll be, it reminds me a lot of when I drove Dawson's Demon, the coupe. The kids really liked that one too.
Now, do you drive a gasser too?
I don't have, no. Hal Canode, Hal won he's a chassis builder out of Indiana, but he ran gassers when he first started racing, and then ran Alcohol Dragster, was the UDRA champion in Alcohol Dragster 2 or 3 years. And he's built himself a 33 Willys with the blown Chrysler in it. And he'll be racing against Brian Spouts with his crazy 2 Angula. And they'll do big burnouts and back up, and then they'll be making 3 runs up at Kokona. The fuel cars just will make 2. And then the older wheelbase cars will also make 3, and it'll be a match race deal for those. So best 2 out of 3 for those guys.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome that you guys bring back the old days of drag racing like that.
Well, I think that's, we need to remember where we came from and the people, you see all the Cackle Fest cars, and they're beautiful, gorgeous cars, but they're not legal to run. So my idea was to build an absolutely legal car that still looked just like it did when it was, 63 or 64, and bring it back so that you are safe when you're running it, but yet when you look at it, it certainly could be, 1964 or 5 in that area. So that's kind of what we're shooting for, and I think that the people will enjoy it, and they can kind of see what the difference is,
Yeah, I didn't start going to watch drag racing until like the 70s when my dad started taking me. I was like 4 or 5 years old back in the 70s. Yeah. When Snake and Mongoose and Don Guards and everybody were running, and Billy Meyer, all them.
Right. Yep. Did you go to Union Grove?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah. We ran up there. It was kind of cool that my dad ran our first nitro car there in 1960, and then when I had my alcohol penny car and the Idol and the Speed Sport, and we ran Broadway. Gosh, Broadway used us a ton with those cars, and with Dawson's Demon both. We were up there a lot, and great place. It was good, great crowd. Miss old Broadway. He was a pretty cool old dude, man.
Yeah, he was one of the best promoters.
Yes, he was. He definitely knew how to pack the place, He used to tell me that, some of the guys would come in and set a new national record or tie a record and break their car the first run. And he said, that's great, except I got people coming all weekend long, and now they're not going to get to see that guy run. He said, I'd much rather you back it up just a little bit and make all your runs for the whole weekend than to go out there and turn the world over and then can't come back because you broke all your stuff. So I've kind of thought about that when I do things, Because what I do is more entertainment. I'm there to entertain the people. If we win, that's good. If we don't, well, we'll try next time. But the main thing is to put on a good show for the people and get them out there to watch the drag races. That's what we need, is the stands to be full for the racetracks to continue.
Yeah. Did you ever run at the US 30 track strip in Indiana when they were open?
Dad did, and he worked for Joe Bush, the Speed Sport out of Chicago, and they ran it at 30. And then when I crew chiefed that Fuel Funny car, we took Lewis's car up there and won a deal up there. But myself, no, I never did run US 30. I never went down that track.
Yeah, my dad used to take me to US 30 all the time and Great Lakes Dragway.
Yeah, there was a lot of betting going on in stands at US 30. they had bet on the races, and that was a big deal. And they used to, when the Coke Cavalcade of Stars and all those guys would run, that was a big deal. Those guys would run 3 and 4 and 5 nights a week someplace. They were on the road almost all the time, running different places.
Well, hopefully Jim Young will get a booking at Great Lakes Dragway for the Extreme Top View, and maybe you'll get in Great Lakes Dragway again.
That'd be good. I hope that we can. I'd like to come back there, and I don't know if Jimmy's got one there yet, but I know he runs there a lot with his own car, or did. So maybe he can get hooked up with him and get something going. But I think it'll be a really good show with the Extreme Top Fuel, and like I say, kind of showing people, just you, for instance, you said you don't ever remember them smoking the tires like that, and it really is a kind of a neat thing to see. When they didn't have the good tires, and they didn't have the slipper clutches, and so they had to drive them with the throttle a little more than the new cars. New cars, they can hook them up and they can adjust the clutch and they can adjust things to help out. Where when you're smoking the tires, it's kind of the seat of the pants and your foot on the pedal as to how quick you can get it down the track, and because you don't really have much traction. So it's a whole different driving deal, but it slows things down a little bit. Of course, obviously, when you're smoking the tires, the cars don't go anywhere nearly as fast as they did or they do now. That's all the improvements they've made. So it's a neat deal. I think everybody will get a big kick out of the car, and I'm just tickled to death with the way the thing has turned out. Corey did an awesome job putting the car together. It just drives great, goes right down through there, and he also did the paint for me, and it's the pictures don't do it justice, I can tell you that. If you see it in person, you'll be amazed at the car, because it is really a work of art.
Yeah, the pictures, it looks gorgeous, so you're in person is just even more mind-blowing, huh?
Yeah, you can't hardly see the flake in it. There's flake in it. He's got different colors of pearl going down the nose, and different color of flake in it, and the gold leaf lettering, and it's just really. I told him when we started the project that I've never, our cars weren't just ugly, but I never really had enough money to spend on making them really pretty, and I figure this is my last hurrah. So I said, what I want is a car that when you roll it out of the back door, I don't care who's standing there, I want them to go, wow. And he delivered. We get that a lot when we roll it out. So that's a good deal, and I think that as we run it, people see how and what we do with it. I think it'll get to be a pretty popular car, and I think the tracks will get a pretty good kick out of it. We ran it in Mocan last year, and the people just went crazy over it. I mean, they really liked it. And when I turn off the other end, I still can't see to the starting line for the smoke that we put out on the track. And I'm sitting on the return road already. So that's kind of what our deal is for this year.
So how did you come up with the name The Guardian?
I put on Facebook that we were looking for a name for the car, and 600 people threw names out there. And I was sitting at home one day, and I thought, the Guardian of the Universe, that's got to be the baddest SOB out there. So that's what this is the Guardian. So that's how we came up with the Guardian. Nice.
So now, with Cordova, then the other event, is that the only two events you're going to be doing this year, or you got more?
It is. I've got four of them that we don't have a date on yet, and until we do, I'm not going to throw them out there. But I know that we'll get, or at least it looks like we'll have at least four more events, and then as it gets closer, I think we'll pick up some more. I'm hoping that Cordova likes our show well enough that Dominic will have us come to the World Series. I'd like to run the World Series again, and I think once he sees how the response for the people of the car, I think that he'll be convinced that we should do that, and that'll be a 2-day deal probably. And there's, like I say, there's four pretty prominent promising deals. We just haven't put a date on them yet. So tracks are still kind of deciding what they're doing and what direction they're going, and they're hustling sponsors up to help them put on the races. So we'll see how it works out. But I'm real confident that we'll have several races around the country, and I'm hoping that we'll get to run the whole evolution of drag racing thing around a couple more races. I think when people see that, that'll be an interesting deal too, to kind of see how the whole thing was, where it evolved from, and where it's going. So that'll be a good deal.
Now, do you think you ever go up to Bakersfield and run that Roadster?
We're discussing that. It costs so much to go to California. I'd like to go, and we're trying to figure that out. But maybe we'll get it there. It'd just be something to run. There's no class or anything for it to run. So you're just going out there basically to go to Bakersfield, you know.
Right.
So we'll have to think about that. I'd like to go. I've been to a lot of racetracks, and I worked for Kenny Bernstein in '07 and '08, and got to do the whole NHRA tour. And of all the tracks that I've been to, I've never been to Bakersfield. So that was, I had called Dawson, and we were gonna try to get Dawson's Demon back together and put a lot better motor in it and go run fuel altered out there. And Jerry got sick and unfortunately has passed away, and so I don't know. That's sort of on hold. His son would like to put it together, and hopefully we'll be able to get it back together too, and that'd be a great car to take to Bakersfield and actually have a class to run with, you know.
Right. So now, like years ago when you started drag racing, was there anybody that inspired you? Other drag racers out there?
Oh yeah, a lot of them. I was fortunate with Dad to get to know, a lot of the people, and Chris Karamessinis was one. Dad raced against Chris quite a little bit at the Grove and at US 30 and Oswego, and Chris was and still is a big name as far as I'm concerned. It's pretty awesome that he can be out there at his age still going 300 miles an hour, you know.
Right.
And we have in my shop, we have my brother and I bought the New York Yankees car from Darrell Gwynn in 2002, I think it was. And we still have that car. And it's a current up-to-date top fuel car, but it's just not feasible to try to run it on a budget that we have. So it's just kind of parked. But we got to go do a lot of things that were pretty exciting for us, and it's been a pretty neat journey to get to do the things that I've got to do, and people that we've met and friends along the way, and that's what this car was about. I just didn't want to retire and sit down and do nothing, and so we built this car, and I still get to go. I still get to go pretty fast, mile an hour wise, and it's nice to go out on a weekend and get your blood pressure up and get a little circulation going in yourself, you know.
So, with this smoking Roadster, what's the fastest you've gone with this?
Mile an hour wise, I don't even. We've only run the 8th mile, and it ran 100. I remember what it did run, 140 or 50 miles an hour, I think. I think in the quarter mile that it'll be nearly 200. I know I went when I drove the Ivo car that I had. I went 192 in it in Kansas City. So I'm sure that this car certainly has a lot more power than the Ivo. So just getting it calmed down enough that you're not freewheeling the tires and the motor so bad. But the mile an hour will be up, but the ET isn't going to be so good because you're smoking the tires, you're wasting a lot of time. So,
Right.
but I think that the mile an hour should be 180 to 200 miles an hour should be about what we shoot for, somewhere in that neighborhood, depending on the track and the way we're trying to get it hooked up. It's sort of with the tires we're actually running tires that were basically made like the ones in the 60s. So they're completely different compound tire than what the guys are running nowadays. So I'm really anxious. I think it'll be really fun to run with Jimmy Steele. I think that's going to be a real neat deal for the spectator. I think they'll get a kick out of how it used to be and how it is today. I think that'll be a really good comparison.
So the Ivo car, that was your first time doing this, smoking the tires down the track?
Smoking the tires, yeah, because when I started driving, the slipper clutch had already come to pass. So I had been around the smoking the tires deal, and well, I guess I drove the little puffer, Dad's 1956 car. I did drive it, smoking the tires. And we went 150. Dad went 150 in 1957 in the little puffer. And when we took it to the Grove let's see, Dad and I put it back together in 86, I think it was. Dad went 156 in it up there. So that was kind of cool to know that it ran, as good or better than it had when he put it together. So that was kind of cool. And he went a little bit faster than I did, and I had to live with that. So, but that was okay. That made him feel pretty good. So he was showing me how it was supposed to be done,
So what was the experience like for you the first time getting behind the wheel and doing this smoking all the way down the quarter mile with the Ivo car?
With the Ivo car, it was pretty cool. I drove the Speed Sport most of the time, and my cousin drove the Ivo car. And the Speed Sport messed up out in Kansas City, and my cousin was having some issues. There was something going on with the car, and he couldn't tell me what it was, so I took it down through there and figured out what the problem was in the drive line. And that's when I went 192, and I had never really driven it. I'd driven the Speed Sport. And the Ivo was a piece of cake compared to the Speed Sport to drive, because the Speed Sport, it wants to pass itself. It's real short, and the rear end is pretty wide. And when you're going down the track, it kind of wants to pass itself. So you got to really be on your toes with it. The Ivo car went pretty straight. It was pretty good. But you have to be really in tune with the motor, because if you get spinning it too hard, then the motor's freewheeling, and then you tear up parts, and you don't want to do that. So that's one of the things you got to really pay attention. And that's kind of, the drivers that drove back then, that's what I'm saying, that it's a whole different deal now. When you put the pedal down, hopefully you don't have to pedal it. I mean, sometimes they do, but if the clutch is right and everything, they can go really, really fast, and really, they're more worried about actually driving the car than freewheeling the motor and that kind of stuff, where you were spinning the tires. Just kind of a different deal. Not that one is any easier than the other. I'm certainly not saying that, but they're just different. It's different stuff you have to listen and watch for.
Right. So now, Rex, for the Guardian Roadster, do you have any sponsors?
We do. Luke Oil helps us out. R&T Blowers helps us out. Rudy helped us with the blower. Brookhart Trucking helps us out. And DJ Safety helps us with the safety equipment. They make the best safety equipment out there. And they're all really good companies, and it's great to have marketing partners that really work with you and help you out to keep you out there and keep you going.
Right. Yeah, when I did an interview with Tim Cohn, and he was saying that Jim was gonna talk to Great Lakes Dragger and try to get the Extreme Top Views booked over there. If not this year, I hope maybe next year. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, I hope that works out for him. I'd like to see Jimmy's deal work. If I was a little younger, I would put a car together and go race with them. I think that'd be a lot of fun to do, and we've got a lot of parts, but I'm old enough now that I know where I need to be and what I need to be doing, and what I'm doing is just fine. It slows everything down a little bit, ET wise, and that's good. That's probably good. Not that I wouldn't like to jump in his car and take a spin. I probably would do that, but that probably isn't going to happen, and maybe it's a good thing. But I'm really satisfied with the Guardian and how it turned out and the way it drives and runs, and it's got really good parts in it. It's absolutely a legal car, so there's no problems that way. And like I say, there's so many really beautiful tackle cars, but they really aren't safe to run the speeds that they're running and would run now. And so that's what we did was build something safe enough to run and still have the look and be able to do what it did then. So I'm looking really forward to this year and getting some runs out and seeing the feedback. I'm getting the car ready. We'll leave for next weekend. We're doing the Cars for Charity Rod and Custom Show in Wichita. It's a car show that's been going on for 62 years. Big show out there, and they've asked us to bring the Guardian out there, so we're taking it out, and I'm going to have it on in the car show for them. It's a good charity organization that helps a lot of people. So I try to do those things too.
So at the car show, will you be cackling the car?
No, we'll just have it on display. We got a real nice display put together, and we'll just have it on display for them.
So now, Rex, as far as the Grove goes, have you ever tried contacting them to try to get your Roadster over there?
I've sent Randy a couple of emails. I know Jeff Elliker works up there. I've known Jeff. In fact, I drove his funny car for him when he had it a couple of times. And he's, we're trying to get them to see, the opportunity of what we're doing, and hopefully we can get together with them and put on a really good show. I think the response that we get with the car is just incredible, and I think people still remember me from the Grove, maybe, and I certainly would like to think that we could go back to the Grove and run. The guys, they're doing a good job, and I think that their people are, they're looking for new things, and hopefully we can fill that void for them.
Yeah, I'd love to see you come run at like either the Memorial Day weekend or the Labor Day weekend.
Yep, that's when Broadway was there, he had a nostalgia race the weekend before Labor Day, and he had us up there for that. We ran a lot up there, and it's a fun track. The people they got good spectators, and it's always a fun event. And I hope that we can get together with them and get back up there. That'd be a good deal.
Yeah, it's a good old track. 1955 they started that track.
Yeah, it's certainly one of the best known, and it's had its share of big names. That's for sure. It's had about every big name there ever was to have up there at one time or another. And Chicagoland spectators are really good groups of people. They appreciate the racing, so hopefully we'll get to be a part of it.
Yeah, that would be awesome to see. My wife and I still go up there all the time, so we'd love to see you run up there.
That'd be good. Let them know. That's what we need, is people to let them know what they want to see, and maybe we can get together with them, and they do a great job, and it'd be nice to be a part of it.
Yep. So Rex, how many crew members you have for your Roadster?
We've got 3 that go with me most all the time. Mike Patchett, my son Cole Stevens, Mike Curtis helps, and on occasion a buddy of mine comes and helps, so we can get everything done we need to get done. We we carry enough spare parts if we do tear something up that we can get it fixed, and Jerry Fry is another one that comes and helps. So we've got a pretty decent crew that can get the job done when we need to.
So now, what goes into preparation to get ready for a weekend of racing with that Roadster of yours?
Well, we go through the motor pretty often to make sure that everything is up to snuff with it, and just loading everything. We're running nitro, so you got to have alcohol and nitro to mix, and we got to change the oil after each run, so you have to have enough oil in the trailer, and extra batteries. We carry 2 battery packs and 2 starters, and it's just a lot of maintenance. A lot of you've got to stay on top of these cars. You can't just not just run them from week to week and not do anything, because that's when they'll bite you. I'll guarantee you, no matter how nice and good a part you have in them, you have to maintain stuff, and that's what we try to do, is stay on top of them and make sure that the parts are how they ought to be. So we don't normally have to take it apart between rounds, as far as burning pistons and that sort of thing, like the guys do that are running really, really hard, because we don't put that much of a load on the motor. We can't load the motor because it's spinning the tires, so there's not as much load on the motor. So we don't have to disassemble it and change pistons and that sort of thing between runs, or at least we shouldn't have to. I'll say that. So far we haven't. Unless there's something really freaky happening, we should be good that way. But our group can get it done if we would have to. We can get it apart and get it back together. So And I keep those kind of parts in the trailer just in case. So if something does happen, we'll be able to fix whatever we need to fix.
So how many runs have you done with the Guardian Roadster so far?
Well, we've run 4 times. Just kind of shakedown stuff, and then a couple of actual runs. And we had a race scheduled last year. In fact, we had 2 races scheduled last year that rained out. So that was kind of unfortunate for us, but can't beat Mother Nature. You just gotta grin and bear it and go to the next one. So, and we didn't really get it together until I think toward the end of May is when we actually had it where it was ready to go to the track and make some shakedown runs. And I hadn't driven in a while too, so I needed to kind of shake myself down. But it was just old hat when I got in the car. Everything was, of course, I've been in and out of the car so much when we were building it that everything fit and everything was where it was supposed to be, and it just felt like I was home again. We're going out there and ready to do it. So, and that was good. When you haven't driven in a while, you get behind something with that much power, you got to think about it. It just was just part of it. Everything was just like it ought to be. So that was good.
So it's kind of like jumping on a bicycle again.
That's it. When I got in it, I thought, I might be nervous since it was a brand new car and a lot of power, and it I just wasn't at all. We were, start this thing up and let's go do it. But I made a lot of laps up and down the track in my lifetime, I guess, and it's, like I say, kind of like riding a bicycle.
So the first run you did with the Guardian, how did that feel for you?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
The first run you did with the Guardian, how did that feel for you?
It felt great. I was pleasantly surprised that everything went as smoothly as it did. We were I kind of guessed at a lot of the settings because with the motor that's in it and the tires that are on it and the gear that's in the rear end, the fuel pump that I put on it and setting the clutch and doing everything, it was all sort of a flip of the coin and just a guess on my part, but I got it close enough that everything worked just like it should, so that was good, and that gave us a really good starting point to work from, and we kind of worked from there and calmed stuff down a little bit and got things sorted out a little better. But it started and did exactly what it was supposed to do, so you can't complain too much about that sort of thing.
So now, did you get a lot of people coming to the pits and visiting you, asking about that Roadster?
Yes, yeah. When we just took it to the little local track here first, just to drop it out and just. I told them I just needed to make a couple 100-foot pass just to kind of shake things out, make sure to smoke the tires and do what we're supposed to do. And my goodness, when we unloaded the car, you couldn't even see the car. There was so many people around it, and what are you going to do? How and I said, well, this is just like the '60s now, and there was a couple older guys, and they said, oh, this ought to be really cool. And the younger kids were like, they didn't quite understand what was going to happen, but they all really liked it. I mean, when I got back to the pits after the run, there were a pretty big crowd waiting on us when we got there. So that was good, and that's kind of what this thing's about. We're just there to entertain the people, and we want to make sure that everybody's happy when they leave with what we do. So far, the tracks have been more than happy with our performances and what we've done, and and we want to keep that going.